RCMP leader Tom Mulcair is taking issue with the government's characterization of last week's attack on Parliament Hill. The government and the RCMP call the actions of Michael Zahab-Bibeau an act of terrorism, but Mulcair says he disagrees with the use of that term.
You see a criminal act, of course. You see something that was meant to provoke the type of reaction we had. But when you look at the history of the individual, attempts to get help, even to be in prison to get help, if that turns out to be the case, I think that we're not in the presence of a terrorist act in the sense that we would understand it.
MPs attended their first caucus meeting since last week's attack. NDP MPs applauded the House of Commons Guard who blocked the door to their caucus room during the gun battle between Zahab-Bibeau and security officers. Legal experts and human rights activists are also weighing in on Parliament's response to last week's attacks. They're at a conference called Arar Plus 10 at the University of Ottawa today. The conference is named for Maher Arar, an Ottawa man who was arrested in New York and detained and tortured by the Syrian government in 2002. One of the lawyers who represented Arar at the Canadian inquiry into his case is at the conference. Marlis Edwards says the Conservative proposal to make it easier to share intelligence with foreign governments might lead to trouble in courts.
I don't believe intelligence belongs in a court because it's untestable. The service is, I think, got a legitimate interest in preserving its technical abilities. At the same time, if you're a criminal defense lawyer, one of the things you want to know is, okay, you have this information, how did you acquire it?
Edward is among a number of speakers at the conference calling for independent oversight of Canada's spy agencies, something they say has not happened since it was recommended at the Arar inquiry 10 years ago. A former Ottawa Scout leader has been sentenced to 5 years after pleading guilty to sexually abusing 4 teenage boys. 31-year-old Scott Stanley was given credit for time spent under both house arrest and pre-sentencing custody, so his actual sentence works out to just under 4 years. In June, Stanley pleaded guilty to 16 counts, including sexual interference, internet luring, and invitation to sexual touching. In handing out her sentence, Justice Heather Perkins McVeigh told Stanley the boys were profoundly affected by his breach of trust. She added the boys, who were between 13 and 15 at the time of the abuse, will carry scars that will be with them for the rest of their lives. Stanley must also submit a DNA sample to the sex offender registry and stay at least 2 kilometers away from his victims. Police in West Quebec are investigating after 3 horses disappeared from a property in La Pêche. It happened sometime between September 30th and October 1st. The rural property is on Chemin des Arabes, that's north of the community of Sainte-Cécile-de-Macham. Police say they don't know why someone would have taken the horses. Martin Fournel speaks for MRC des Collines Police.
It's unusual.